Pascal Siakam spent the entire offseason as well as the start of this season rehabbing from shoulder surgery. It was a process that took him 5 months to recover from, and finally, our best player returned to the court, and in the 5 games that he's played, the Raptors have lost all 5 of those games. Is it Pascal Siakam's fault? Is it time for him to get traded? Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans. This is Amateur Sports, your source for everything Raptors related. We do Raptors news, game recaps, mock trade breakdowns, and so much more. So if you like the Toronto Raptors and you enjoy content in this video style, then you are going to love Amateur Sports. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're on a road to 8,000 subscribers. And in return for subscribing, you stay up to date with the 4+ Raptors videos we put out every single week, like the one today where we are talking about Pascal Siakam and a little bit about the game that we saw last night against the Utah Jazz. The Raptors fall in an ugly one. Another ugly loss for the Raptors. The Jazz put up 119 points and win by 16 in the end. This is the 3rd game in a row where the Raptors have allowed over 118 points. And it's getting really tough to watch this team because this is a team built on their defensive identity. There are teams in the NBA who sacrifice their offense to push their defensive identity. There are teams who sacrifice their defense to push their offensive identity. And there's the Toronto Raptors right now because the offense looked great in the first half in this game. It looked great in the first half against the Blazers, but it falls apart late on in both of the games as we get dismantled against the Jazz here. Absolutely dismantled against the Jazz. The Raptors offense had no answer for the Jazz defense in the second half, and our defense, we had absolutely no answer for Gobert pick and rolls, the ball movement of the Jazz, and I mean, it was just a lot of ugly sets by the Raptors in this game, and no one was uglier, I mean, maybe Boucher, but nobody was uglier than Pascal Siakam in this one. He finishes with 4 points on 14% shooting, 0 for 4 from 3, and he had a big refusal to actually go and attack the rim. I mean, he was completely terrified of going to attack the rim. And when he's the best player on your team and he's a slasher on this team, that can't happen. Scottie Barnes can clump into that category as well. Both of them. In OG Anunoby's absence, he's going to be out for a while now. In his absence, you'd think Scottie Barnes and Siakam would take on a much bigger role offensively, but they're both so extremely passive on offense, and that is just not okay. Pascal Siakam, even more in particular. The Raptors, their best source of offense yesterday was give the ball to Gary Trent and get out of the way. Gary, please hit a shot for us. And Gary hit a lot of them, but he didn't really get any help from anybody else on the team as it came to the offense. In the second half, in particular, it was pretty brutal. Because in the first half, well, it was great. The Raptors had 63 points at half, which gave us a false sense of hope, up by 2 at the half. But the Raptors, we are not an offensive-driven team. We are a defensive-driven team. That is our identity. Defense first. The sad reality is, the Raptors offense team in general is just not good enough to sustain that pace. 63 points in the first half. It is not good enough to sustain 60 points at half. The Utah Jazz offense is completely capable of doing that, and they showed it. They averaged just under 60 points per half. And we cannot sustain 55% shooting from the field, 45% from 3, which we did in the first half. The Jazz, more talented, are capable of sustaining these great paces of play. The Raptors eventually fall off, especially when their defense is giving us nothing. I mean, the Raptors had 20 bench points. The Utah Jazz had 57 bench points, and nobody off the bench, except for Malaki for pockets in the first half, provided us any sort of spark. Boucher continues to be useless. Mihailovic offered us absolutely nothing yesterday, and Banton is really not showing the great signs he showed earlier on in the season. Malachi Flynn, oh boy, he just really wasn't that effective in the second half of this one. But a lot of the blame, again, is being shed on Pascal Siakam because, you know, there's people out there who basically, well, when Pascal Siakam plays, the Raptors haven't won a single one of those games. Well, actually, Pascal Siakam, other than the one last night, been pretty great since coming back from injury. But who else can you blame? He's played in all 5 of the games, and they've lost all 5 of the games. That's on him. Well, again, I'm not defending yesterday. However, in the 2 games prior to that, he had 20 points against the Blazers and 25 points against the Pistons and showed great stats in other categories as well. It's definitely not enough. He needs to be doing more. And against the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics, he had 15 points and 8 points in those games. He didn't do enough on offense for us. Well, in the Nets and Celtics game, he was on a minutes restriction, so there was only so much he could do to affect the game because he was off the floor for a lot of those chunks. it's still his fault. This is the reality of the situation for Pascal Siakam. He's been great since coming back from injury, especially when you consider the fact that he was rehabbing his shoulder for 5 months. We have to have a weird blend here where I have to defend Pascal Siakam for his performances throughout the season, but I also have to let you know that yesterday was absolutely awful, absolutely ridiculously bad from Pascal Siakam. So we've gotten all that out of the way. Siakam, yes, a lot of the offense was him at fault for just not being good enough yesterday. Completely, 100%, absolutely. But he had 20 points against the Portland Trailblazers. And he had 25 against the Detroit Pistons, along with 12 rebounds and 7 assists. I don't know how you can equate these losses just solely to Pascal Siakam when the Raptors are allowing over 118 points in all 3 of those games. There's only so much Pascal Siakam can do offensively to help this team. Yesterday was a complete outlier to his performances. And if you really want to criticize the Nets and Celtics game, again, Siakam was on a minutes restriction. You got to put blame on the other guys because he is restricted how much he can play. And if he had played more, he would have played even better. It's the fact of the matter is he just wasn't able to affect the game as much as other players on the team. With OG Anunoby hurt, Scottie Barnes and Siakam need to take a bigger role. That didn't happen yesterday. But in previous games, Siakam has been great. But people just want to fuel their own narrative that it is Pascal Siakam's fault that the Raptors are not winning. People come into with this preconceived notion that Pascal Siakam is the reason the Raptors can't find success. So any single game that feeds into that narrative, then they are going to absolutely jump on it just like this one. The same thing happened last season. But when Pascal Siakam puts up 25 points, well, then we can just move the goalpost a bit further away to make it harder for Pascal Siakam to meet our expectations that continuously become higher and higher. There's only so much one man can do for this team. There's only so much Pascal Siakam can do to affect the game. The reality is he can be a lot better as an off-ball defender on defense, but as can a lot of the players on this team, like Scottie Barnes, who I keep mentioning. Scottie Barnes has been great, but showing signs of being a rookie, absolutely, and those things are going to correct themselves, but you need to give Pascal Siakam the ability to correct these things as well. You want to find a scapegoat for this bad stretch of games? We were 6-3 and now we're 7-9. That's 6 losses in 7 games. You want to find a scapegoat? I don't think you can really look any further than Nick Nurse. This team is defense first, and they are showing really no signs of having a defensive identity. I know there are injuries, but I don't think OG Anunoby would have changed anything yesterday because he didn't change anything against the Trailblazers and the Pistons as it came to the defensive end. And definitely Precious Achiuwa is not helping us in that category either. This team was priding themselves on keeping teams under 100 points earlier in the season. Now we struggle to keep teams under 115 points. How do you expect us to win games if we continue to allow this many points? That is the reality. That is a complete reality. We don't have a set play on offense that we can continue to rely on when we're in a cold stretch. When we're in a cold stretch, our offense becomes give the ball to one guy and just pray that he hits a shot. On defense, it's scattered, it's chaotic, it doesn't look like there's a plan in place for the Raptors, and it's just so easy for the Jazz to break us down. So they ran the Rudy Gobert pick and roll, no answer all night. They moved the ball well on the perimeter. We got caught in rotations and left so many open threes, especially that weak side corner three. We tried to run a full press in the second half without actually really pressing any of the Jazz players, which led to an inbound, an outlet, and a pass to an open three-pointer. Again, the Jazz are one of the best three-point shooting teams in the NBA and knocked down a lot of them yesterday. All of these things, is Pascal Siakam a contributor to some of the deficiencies that this team has? Yeah, absolutely. Is Pascal Siakam the sole contributor to the Raptors' current losing skid? Absolutely not. There are so many other players on the court who are trying to influence the game. The Raptors don't have a rim protector. The Raptors aren't showing a defensive identity, and there is no help coming off of the bench. These are the things that are the problem right now. It's not just pointing at the fingers at Pascal Siakam. Players in the league, they have bad games. This was Pascal Siakam having a really, really, really bad game. But I think that Siakam will bounce back, and I think that he'll put on a good performance tonight. But nobody's going to talk about it. Nobody's going to talk about any sort of good game for Pascal Siakam, even if he doesn't have a good game. When he does have a good game, because he has a lot more great games than bad games. I would say to every one bad game he has like 7 or 8 good games. But people don't want to talk about those bad games. They just want to fuel the narrative that it is Pascal Siakam's fault. So anytime they can just kind of pencil in that one bad performance to fit the narrative that they themselves have created to support their agenda, that it's Pascal Siakam's fault, they are absolutely going to seize the opportunity to do that. And yesterday, Siakam did a great job of providing them the game that they can pencil in to that narrative. The Raptors are in the middle of a big snowball down a big hill, and they need to pick themselves up here. They're playing against the Sacramento Kings tonight, and the Sacramento Kings are even worse than us. So if you lose to the Sacramento Kings, well, then there needs to be some serious questions about what this team is doing, about what this organization is doing. I get that, we're not the best team this season. I get that we're not going to be definitive playoff team, but I need to see improvements. I've said all throughout the season, not as concerned about the win-loss. I'm concerned about the product on the court. And the product on the court right now is just simply not good enough. And it's not doing a good enough job of setting the foundation and improving us for future seasons. That is the most important thing. And that is something that's not being addressed. And that is the worst thing right now. But Pascal Siakam, it is not on him. It is not just on him. Okay, some of it on him, but not all of it. Because even though in the first half, he barely did anything offensively, the Raptors were up. So clearly, it's not just him. It's not just Siakam. Don't try to play it up like it is. Pascal Siakam's the best player on this team. I'm sorry, Masai Ujiri, Bob Webster, they love this guy. He is not going anywhere. So you better get used to the idea of Pascal Siakam being on this team and building around him and building around Barnes, Anunoby, Van Vliet, because that is our current situation, whether or not you like that. Let's bounce back tonight against the Kings. If this team really wants to show they have any sort of character, any sort of resolve, this is a must-win game tonight. We're 7-9. I'm thinking, well, can this Raptors team ever be above 500 again? I want to believe that they can. It starts tonight because you got the Warriors on Sunday. Don't even think about that because that is a daunting task. Win this game tonight, set the ship direction on the right course, bounce back, get some momentum, have some fun, and win this damn basketball game because I don't know what to think of this team if they can't even beat the Kings. So, Raptors, 0-5 when Pascal Siakam plays. Is it on him? Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below because that is it for me for today. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please give a like on the video if you did enjoy. I mean, if you're still here at the end of the video, you clearly did enjoy, so that deserves a like. And subscribe to the channel if you want more Raptors content 4+ times a week. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers. You can help us get there. On the screen right now, my vlog channel. Check it out here. I have a Raptors 905 vlog you can watch and amateur clips. The immediate post-game show to every single Raptors game. This is the kind of the day after, but that is immediately after the game, so emotions are riding a lot higher in those ones. It can make choose a very different content for you to enjoy. See you again next time for another video.